Introducing the shitty pun multiplier, because it adds so much to the video and I know you all crave it like the devil's lettuce. So whenever you hear this sound, not only does this denote an eye-rolling pun, but a 4 times multiplier will be added to the sync counter for a whole minute. And yes, it stacks. This is just a parody, shut up, don't tell me what to do, you're not my dad. High Impact Games. Literally the same newspaper Clank was reading at the beginning of Size Matters. Either Clank hoards newspapers or this takes place on the same day Size Matters did. No one notices the large mass of metal flying in, nor do they notice the tiny robot lowering from it. The intention was obviously to get Ratchet caught and framed for the crime anyway, so the cloak he was wearing is only for the purpose of concealing his identity from the audience.
Greetings, Agent Clank. Were you able to protect the Eye of Infinity?
Help desk lady by day, secret agent by night. Also, she looks more like a butt-ugly Martian than a robot. Dalagratch continues her crusade of replacing every known news reporter in the universe. Ratchet hasn't even been thrown into the back of the paddy wagon, and yet he's already been forced into a prison uniform.
Crime doesn't pay, huh?
James Arnold Taylor isn't the star of a Ratchet and Clank game in this scene.
Crime doesn't pay, huh? Well, I can tell you from experience that being a hero really doesn't pay.
Yet, tell that to the thousands of bolts that spew from the enemies you mercilessly kill. These guards don't immediately report the suspicious-looking robot spy jumping out of a ship. Clank level. Wait a minute. You only get caught if you step in the spotlight, despite the fact that the area is well lit. I almost wouldn't mind having climbing sections in other Ratchet and Clank games if Ratchet sidled as fast as Clank did.
This is an agency drop box. I wonder what is in it.
Would it not be more efficient to give Clank the necessary gadgets before he begins an infiltration? And don't give me that he's only got so much room shtick. If Ratchet can hold 20-ish weapons half his size, Clank can hold a cufflink and a ballpoint pen. The whole world stops for you when you initiate a silent takedown. I don't think Clank knows what a silent takedown is. Boy, that's one thick-ass bussy. Considering who the true culprit of this whole mystery is, that's no excuse. You know what? I'm okay with rhythm games, for the most part. If you at least have memorable music to tap along to, then I don't have much of an issue. That's why I don't much care for this one, seeing as they missed an opportunity to have memorable music and instead went with generic spy theme 347. Also, as a man who loves to bash out some Rock Band or Clone Hero every now and then, I know a thing or two about timing and latency. This rhythm section commits the ultimate sin of having so much visual lag that pressing a button on time counts as a straight up miss. 10 sins, I don't give a fuck. He's right there, you dickhead! Also, Clank needs jet boots to double jump, but can already jump twice that height anyway. It seems that people's eyes in this game only work when the game allows for it. I'm just gonna be sitting incompetent guards this whole video, aren't I? Breakdancing has never helped anyone avoid lasers in this situation.
I do not recognize these coordinates. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, and 42.
I'm kinda lost on what I'm supposed to be sitting here. But seriously, stuff off with the Lost references. If Pokemon the Abridged series did it, it's not funny.
I'm getting a little cash on the side to make sure your time in here is less than hospitable.
Asshole prison warden cliche. As someone who knows someone currently in prison, the only thing they're allowed to be sent is socks, undies, thermals, and money. Nowhere does it say anything about food being allowed, let alone a cake. This weapon made of various metals also passed all inspection tests, including the one where they open the box and look at the fucking cake. All items sent to inmates are inspected by prison staff, so how did a lacerator make it through? Ratchet has 2 lacerators despite only being sent 1. The Ratchet sections could have been so much more interesting. He could have been forced to team up with some of his former adversaries in order to stage a prison break, but instead it's just discount arena matches that stretch out far too long. Though, having said that, it's an interesting idea to fight a whole bunch of enemies that you fought in previous games, from Thugs for Less employees to Tyrannoids. A sin-off for nostalgia, why not? Number Woo was being a little too dependent on Clank jumping out and landing on that exact spot. Luckily, Clank suffered a brief wave of cutscene incompetence.
Ah, Agent Clank, you seem to have an electric personality. Once my ninjas power up this laser, it will destroy you permanently.
As opposed to destroying you temporarily. Ah yes, the Gadgetbots. They are to Secret Agent Clank what minions are to Despicable Me. Egad! The most profound and complexing contraption I've ever encountered! 3 buttons. Alright, I got a bone to pick with the Omni key. At least the other hacking gadgets were trying to be inventive. This is just discount Puyo Puyo. Even more annoyingly is that it has the tendency to drop colors that have already been cleared from the screen, making it stretch out way longer than it needs to. Every puzzle is randomly generated too, meaning there's none of the calculated finesse of gadgets such as the Trespasser or even the stupid ball gadget thingy from Tools of Destruction. Honestly, they're just boring and break the pacing of the otherwise good Clank levels. The controls are usually manageable, but movement is a little weird. Instead of turning around on the spot like most games would do, Clank keeps walking forward until he's in the direction you've pulled the stick. This means accidentally failing some stealth sections on occasion because you can't immediately turn around and you end up just touching the guard.
You seem to be tied up at the moment.
That joke doesn't work in this situation, but okay. Well, I'm not sleeping tonight.
Soon the entire galaxy will know of my greatness, thanks to the biography you're writing.
Quark unnecessarily reminds Barney why he's here in the first place for the sake of exposition. Player fights enormous threat in a destructible city potentially made of cardboard. We do this a lot, don't we?
I dodged out of the way.
And the award for shortest pre-rendered cutscene ever goes to... This is a much better use of the rhythm minigame trope, especially given the context. It's also hilariously stupid, with murderous chefs, acid fountains, and even a cameo from Super Mario 64's terrifying piano. Neat. We interrupt this video game to bring you Star Wars. I know I gave Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex a lot of shit for having too many vehicles and gameplay types, and I know Secret Agent Clank is doing a very similar thing right now, but honestly, I had the biggest grin while playing this snowboard section, ramming enemies into walls and slowing down to force 2 enemies to shoot each other. It's so unashamedly cliche and I love it.
Hiya, Knucklehead. You remember me?
No, sure.
Last time we met, you were shooting down my helicopter.
Correction, last time we met I was shooting at you with turrets for 15 minutes. Please don't make me remember that. Also, I don't remember the Thugs for Less leader sounding like that. I don't like change. Ratchet level. Never thought I'd say that. Trailing mission. Oh, my favorite. The Kingpin doesn't notice his men disappearing one by one. That's one way to get someone to suck their own dick. Has anyone ever actually landed a hit with the Hollow Knuckles? These things have lower accuracy than any status move I use in Pokemon. Seriously, everyone else can use Supersonic on me, why can't I use Supersonic on them? It's an interesting idea to see the equipment you get act as both weapons and gadgets, and it makes your arsenal feel synonymous with the theme of the game. As cliche as it may sound, it kinda makes you feel like a spy. A very over-exaggerated caricature of a spy, but it works nonetheless. You can unlock costumes for Quark, and yet the tutu is not available. For shame.
You are not the only one with an ace up their sleeve.
As much as it can be fun getting to play as Quark, his levels are major pace breakers.
Did I mention that he had laser eyes? Let me know what they think of my amazing adventures.
I will. I certainly will.
Obvious guy working for the Kingpin is obvious.
Security alert. Be on the lookout for Secret Agent Clank.
So who tipped them off? Clank just got here. He's only talked to one other person and he was disguised at the time. The Hollow monocle is a pretty cool idea, allowing you to disguise yourself as the enemy. However, you have to scan them from head on. And Secret Agent Clank's definition of stealth is not very black and white, and this mission is an instant fail if you get seen, meaning you'll probably fail on more than one occasion for no reason. While disguised, you have to keep yourself hidden from the person you originally scanned, as they'll be able to tell you're a copy of them. Thing is though, and I know this is a bit racist, but all the guards look the same. Pressing X while disguised turns the disguise off. As a fidgety person who likes to jump everywhere they go, this infuriates me. A gun that looks like a pig. Real fucking clever design, guys. Woo!
Slimcognito? What are you doing here?
Seriously? After all the black market merchandise I've sold you, what do you think I'm doing here?
It's so obvious they couldn't get the original actor back for Slimcognito. I don't like change.
I need a passcode to get into the high-stakes room at Le Paradis de Treasure Casino. Please find someone there with the code and transmit it back to me through Slim.
Clank is banking way too much on Ratchet being able to find someone with the code. I may as well ask your mum for the code to launch the nukes. Ratchet level. That still feels really weird. I know a lot of you guys had trouble with this rhythm section, but I personally had no trouble with it, even with the video lag. My one issue with this section though is, why is it a rhythm section? Also, this section reminds me of the anime Kaiji Ultimate Survivor. It's long, it's drawn out, it's poorly paced, and it has gambling and torture devices.
How many zonks can a bonk zonk bonk? If a bonk zonk could bonk zonks.
Oh yeah, let's make this already annoying rhythm section even more annoying by overlaying distracting dialogue.
I think you should just phone.
What was even the point of that? Hello, Wazowski. Fun-filled evening plan for tonight? I'm not as good at that as I used to be. Fire amoeboids aren't resistant to fire. Pokemon has taught me nothing. All you have to do to make a robot look evil in this universe is give them a cigar.
I swear I am doing everything possible to complete this laser on time!
German/Austrian scientist cliché.
Whatever will I do with this?
Oh yeah, look at that off-screen camera magic go! Woo! This is just a reskin of the snowboard chase level. I don't know, I think it was fun the first time, but a second time is pushing it.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw, what an exhilarating chase. Ooh-wee. We interrupt this video game to bring you Sonic the Hedgehog. That scientist was in there the whole time, even while we were doing those bonus challenges? That's kind of rude. Scientist with accent was just waiting to be rescued before he used his amazing Dragon Quest Zoom spell-style teleporter. Considering amoeboids are the only ones capable of inhabiting Venantonio, there are a lot of people just hanging about sniffing acid fumes. Also, this boat should be literally dissolving in this river of acid.
Here's the first verse, how I saved everyone from being food for the clam dudes. They were trying to sink the city. I jumped in to save the day. I swam right under it and plugged the leak with just my left butt cheek.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Next thing you know, some aliens attack.
What counts as an alien in a universe filled with aliens? Instead of hiding the bolt grabber somewhere within a level, the developers once again opted for the more unsatisfying option of making you buy it. The Tanglevine doesn't shrivel up and burn here. Again, Pokemon has lied to me. Also, you have to wait for the Tanglevine to reload before you can put another one down, creating pointless arbitrary waiting times in this platforming section. Fighting waves of enemies on a seemingly never-ending elevator ride cliché. The way the Gadgebots swing and land right next to the edge gives me conniptions. I always feel like they're just gonna slip off the edge. 10 out of 10. Best game. Masterpiece. IGN. GameSpot. Polygon. The Dark Souls of glitches.
Well, I'll be a donkey's earmuff.
What I think Ratchet meant to say was, I don't like change!
Here's the problem. Some idiot turned this off.
The plumber was called out to turn the tap on, essentially. Watch out for all those angry dudes in the shower, Ratchet! But first, go back to your cell, get dressed up, receive a cake, and then come back and fight the dudes in the shower. Would've made sense to place these before other cutscenes.
If I weren't such a trusting feller, I might be suspicious of all these cakes.
The prison warden would be good at gaming sins. Ratchet level. I know it's funny running around with a giant sensor bar on as you fight other censored showergoers, but this game's pacing is so off that I find myself really struggling to care. Why do Tyrannoids need towels? They're always freeballing it up anyway. In which dirty suppository might Ratchet currently be storing his weapons? This level's honestly not all that great and feels a little too far removed from the whole secret agent thing to be coherent with the game's overall theme. Remember when we were sneaking around and stuff? Now we're just shooting weird lumpy brown fucks. Speaking of which, these fucks can fuck right off to Fucktown. Why does this elevator sound like a dying Ninetales? Also, why are there so many Pokemon references in this video? What the fuck, Aaron?
Excellent. If you can't tell the difference, I doubt anyone else can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That terrible goatee is barely noticeable, dude. Also, evil clone or twin has an evil goatee to represent their evilness cliché. Also, we interrupt this video game to bring you Futurama.
I do hope your ship is an automatic. I never learned to drive a stick.
Implying that ships have automatic or manual transmission. I ain't no rocket scientist, but that seems about as useful as adding a gear stick to a spatula.
Don't kill him too quickly, boys.
As opposed to killing him outright and solving your problem immediately. Oh, geez, the pacing, oof.
Why is it that you don't need a breathing apparatus in the vacuum of space?
Barney would be very good at gaming sins. I've been asking this question for almost 2 years and I still don't have an answer.
Use the circle button to fire my trusty blaster.
A bit late for that. Why run around everywhere when you have a jetpack? Tentacle on tentacle action. This is kinky as fuck, dude. Instead of making an animation for the turret, they just made Quark stand on it idly and punch it to shoot it. Way to put effort in, guys. Oh geez, another one of these flying sections? This is literally the same thing that was in Size Matters.
I finally know who is behind all of this. It is Clunk. He stole my ship and brought it here.
You mean the robot once created by Dr. Nefarious to replace you?
Expository dialogue is expository.
He abruptly quit on the same day that you and Ratchet celebrated your victory over Auto-Destruct by visiting with the Galactic President.
You know, this always confused me. Secret Agent Clank, the show, has Ratchet portraying a bumbling chauffeur, but in Secret Agent Clank, the game, everything that's happened up until this point is considered canon, including all the adventures they've had and all the people they've met. And yet Clank is now a secret agent. I get it, the game's not canon, and it's a riff on the spy movies of yesteryear, but as someone who tends to occasionally overanalyze things, this really hurts my head. Mind-controlled Ratchet releases a video demanding to be released and to be given a planet of his own to rule, or else he'll laser the crap out of every planet in the galaxy. This somehow causes a prison break. Ratchet level. Pray to God that I never have to say that again.
Ratchet, is that really you?
Oh, it's me, all right. Big floppy ears, big green eyes, big hands, big...
Ratchet!
Feet? What?
Just do it. These sections have officially worn out their welcome. There's an ammo crate waiting for you right at the end of the section. You know, the part where you least need any ammo.
It was quite a prickly situation that last brought me here.
Fisherman?
No. Fishman.
That's racist. Right before the final level comes the most pointless, tedious, and boring Quark level of all. Between this section going for well over 10 minutes with 20 waves of enemies and Quark only having 3 hit points for whatever reason, this is probably my least favorite level in the game. 10 sins, 10 sins times 4 times 4, 160 sins, god damn! Exploding bulls. What do you have to say about that, Peter? None of these guards notice Clank coming down in the elevator.
Clank, you activated a trap. The room's filling with deadly gas.
Deadly gas that won't affect Clank because he's a robot. I tried to do this section as stealthily as possible, but the Tyrang has an annoying tendency to lock onto enemies when you don't want it to.
This room looks too difficult to fight past. Try using your holomonocle,
she says as I proceed to clear the room in a matter of seconds.
You seem to be slowing down in your old age. I am still spry enough to deal with traitorous scum like you.
For Clank to be traitorous scum, he would have had to betray you in the first place, which he never did. He's always been a baddie.
Let's start by the way you kowtow to that furry whatever it is. He is dumber and weaker than you.
Dumber? Sure. Weaker? Well, whether we're talking about arsenal size or just general strength, I'm pretty sure Ratchet has Clank beat any day.
I did make a suit modeled after my own creator. I thought it might be fun to order Nefarious around from time to time.
Unless he's brain dead, why would Nefarious take orders from himself? You know, you guys all had me believe that the final battle against Clank was the worst thing ever and was nothing more than a few QuickTime events. You all lie like a fly with a booger in its eye. It's still not a particularly great battle though, as some elements feel just a bit too random to be able to dodge based on your own skill. To be honest though, I really don't think it's worth any more than 5 sins. Of all the weapons Ratchet's known for using, the sniper mine isn't the first thing that comes to mind. Is that a terrible pun I heard? Do that shit!
I have 40 seconds to stop the satellite from destroying the galaxy.
I timed it. It took 46 seconds. Whenever someone says, I have X seconds to do this thing, I will always be there to time it.
Try Clank's a big fat duty head.
Hey, it worked.
He typed that pretty fast for a 23-character password.
He also sent me information on the mind control helmet that Clank had been using to control Ratchet.
Seeing as Clank's target was Ratchet, it would have made more sense to test the mind control helmet on another organic life form. Also, how did Ratchet never notice that he was wearing it? Ratchet and Clank games continue to encourage suicide. Who keeps building robots to be anatomically correct? Look at that Tyrang just superimposed onto the screen, kinda like that one basketball and food fight.
That was an explosive situation. I was glad the president released Clank into our custody. Looks like it sucks to be him.
These puns, they never end! I like how in the credits the quality assurance section appears but there's nothing beneath it. I know the names come after it, but that's real unfortunate timing. Jason Wilson, Rufflecopter pilot. Oh geez, the cringe game is too strong. This is not a sin, just asking for the user-submitted sins as a 2x multiplier. Got you covered, man. Barney yells payback time when he shows his true colors. What exactly is he getting payback for? The final boss is the only boss that Clank actually fights. How might a robot have jiggle physics? 1 sin for each stupid thing you have to scan on New Game Plus, then double it for having to go through the game with the lightning umbrella being the only weapon that does anything at all in terms of damage. This game is the only one in the series I haven't beaten on New Game Plus because the weapons are as useful as a black pair of thongs on a road during a hot summer day. Why do robots robots need to have boobs. Why do they need to have butts? They serve absolutely no purpose to their design other than to garner lustful attention from organics, since robots don't normally have any form of stimulation, unless they do have, which that is also pointless. Give that sinful detail 50 cents or I'm gonna call you out for being a robophiliac. Guess I'm a robophiliac then. When Ratchet is talking about how being a hero doesn't pay on the news, you can hear a large crowd, the doors are closed and the vehicle drives away, yet you can still hear Ratchet's very quiet dialogue at a consistent volume.
The eye has been taken where no one will ever find it.
Why in the world are Amoeboids and Reapers locked up in the prison? The former were non-sentient beings created by the main bad guy, who by the way should be able to escape at will because they're made up of sludge, and the latter a deadly beast captured by Dreadzone. Why didn't Clank ever think of using his giant form to crush Clank? Let us take a moment to appreciate the fact that High Impact Games is largely defunct now. Their most recent game, from 2012, is Disney Princess, My Fairy Tale Adventure. Take that how you will. Clank is the antagonist of this game. We get it, Ratchet and Clank 3 was a thing! The game tells you that the ink for the blackout pen is extremely rare, yet you can find it in literally every level. If he is secret, then why does everyone know his name? Oh, MLG no scope, just do it. I'm Sonic, I gotta go. What is this fucking comment, honestly? I only put this comment in because I want you all to decipher it and tell me what the fuck it says. And you know what? Because every second comment for about 3 weeks was, the final boss battle was hard. Clank sucks. Quick time events are gay. Okay, fine, I'll add a sin for you. And then remove 10 sins because you're all soft and weak and this boss battle isn't nearly as hard or bad or long as you're making it out to be. It's not a good boss battle, but you're acting like it's the worst thing ever. So stick that up your butt and suck it.
Looks like it sucks to be him.
This time around, I'd like to point your attention to TGX Game Reviews, a guy who uploads unnostalgic reviews. Obviously you're all here for Ratchet and Clank stuff, so I recommend watching his review of the Ratchet and Clank movie, which not only outlines a lot of its flaws, but addresses how it could have been done better, aka actual criticism instead of blind hate like so many other reviews of the movie are. Anyway, his whole channel is pretty good, so check out his channel by clicking the link in the description.